Hi everybody, this is Darren and welcome back to Save the Panel. Today we are reviewing the Zen20 power strip from Zooz. I've been eyeing this up for a while, kind of waiting for the right use case for it, but I think I might have one at least for now. This is a smart power strip, has 5 ports on it, and they're individually controlled, some USB goodness. But anyway, we're going to take a look at this today. We'll connect it up to the Z-Box, of course, look at it from Home Assistant's perspective, and also run it through the IQ4 alarm.com ecosystem and see what functions and what doesn't there. Should be kind of fun. So I look forward to getting into it. Welcome. I want to send a thank you to Zooz for providing the products for today's video. Be sure to check out their products at thesmartesthouse.com and getzooz.com. So let's do a little bit of an unboxing here. I find it interesting. I guess they had a lot of real estate here on the back of the box, so we have a lot of instructions, which are kind of neat. So they incorporated a number of push button sequences into it, it looks like, which is handy if you want to directly control. And these USB ports, I noticed, have no Z-Wave control, but they do send a charged or charging report to the hub, which would be kind of handy to know when your phone or whatnot was fully charged. And of course, like all power strips, a main power button. So let's open this up. Oh, it's sealed. All right, so now that we have the packing material cut open, let's see what we have inside. Of course, our little requisite instruction sheet, and you know we're going to do a screen share in a minute, right, and go over all the parameters. I mean, if you've seen any of my videos, you know that's coming up next, right? So look at that. It's a nice, clean-looking unit. I like it. With a screw to secure it to the wall. So we've got a nice, this appears to be 14 gauge. It is 14 gauge wire, which is nice. We'll look at the power specs in a minute. But here it is. So, as far as use case, I have a silly use case today, which is a bookcase in my office, which has already has 2 Z-Wave Zen04s plugged in the wall and the outlet behind it. But it's Halloween and Christmas is coming, so I have other needs on that bookcase for some Halloween and holiday things that go off and on. So having 5 independently controlled things on the bookcase just makes sense rather than stacking up 5 Zen04s where I really don't have an outlet, for all of that. But depending on the load, and we'll look at that in a second, this could be very handy for even a home network rack, so you can remotely power cycle, say, your router if you have a flaky router in your home, or things like that. So I think there's a lot of use cases here, as you get into this for power control. I'll say in the IT side of my life, there's professional grade, remotely controlled power devices that we use to, in some cases, we used to, in the old days, dial in with a modem, right, to command a port to power cycle itself. I know I'm dating myself, but that stuff actually still exists in the market and is still available. This is kind of the Z-Wave alternative, so it's really really nice to see. All right, so let's take a look at the specs and parameters of this Zen20 power strip. So of note here, we've got the 5 outlets. Total resistive load needs to be under 15 amps across all of the outlets. The 2 USB ports do not have Z-Wave control, but they report charging on-off status. We'll take a look at that. It has 800 with S2 and long range, which is very nice. Power monitoring in every outlet. I can't wait to see that. That could be very useful. Remembers and restores on-off status after power outage. I'm sure that's a parameter. We'll look at that in a second. And then LED indicators for status and progress. 5-year warranty and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at the advanced parameters here for the power strip. This is pretty neat. So as I guessed, the recovery after power failure is a settable parameter, whether you want it to remember that status or not, or default either off or on. The power wattage report value threshold and frequency is configurable like on most devices that do power monitoring. Overload protection, you can set the number of watts for total consumption across the power strip, and if it's exceeded, it will turn off automatically and send a notification to the hub. They don't recommend changing the value, of course. It defaults to 1500 watts, but if you had a special use case and wanted to make it an even lower watt threshold, you could absolutely do that, which is, again, very nice to have. Wow. And then auto off timers and auto on timers for each individual outlet. So you can turn that parameter off and on and then set the amount of time for either auto off or auto on. Very cool. And then disabling manual control. There are buttons, as we saw, next to each outlet. If you want to disable the ability to push that button and turn on and off, you can. How do you want the LEDs to display, and then do you want to disable monitoring reports for each of the outlets as far as power monitoring. And then lastly, the USB reports, enabled or disabled. I'm inferring here, it says when a connected device is charging, drawing power, or fully charged, not drawing power. So I believe this might be a Boolean report. Either it's drawing power, not drawing power, as opposed to a power number, but we'll see that in a minute when we get it all connected and see which it does. And then of course, electrical current reporting frequency and threshold. So once again, a lot of flexibility here through the parameters. Okay, so here we are in the Z-Box. Let's go ahead and add this device. And I'm not going to do LR. We're just going to add it normally here. Now the directions say inclusion is the channel 1 button 3 times. And here we go. Just need to get the code. Okay, so what I did was I plugged in a couple of devices here just to draw some power. I'm decorating for the holidays, so I have these laying around. But I have 3 different bulbs in there just so there were different power consumption. And we can actually see this work. If we turn off one, one indeed goes off. And so forth. So we have control as we would expect. What's interesting is that there were these additional devices added, 2 power meters, or electric meters rather, for each switch. And if we view it here, we can see that the watts are coming in on the switch entity and our endpoint, and we've got voltage here and we have amps here. Now this is such a low draw bulb, it's registering as 0 watts. We could probably play with the threshold parameter there to make it show up better. But so it's all here. What's interesting is there's, I'm not sure I expected it or not, but there is no entity to turn off the entire strip. I mean, certainly there is a physical power switch here, but it's not in Z-Wave, but no big deal. We can send commands to each of the 5 to turn them off. But I'm just curious, if I were to turn the switch off, that indeed is a hard power off of the entire power strip, because it seems that we don't have an update in terms of light status. It still thinks these lights are on, and this device is now non-responsive. So very curious. This actually is a master kill switch, which kills the Z-Wave relay and the Z-Wave device as well. And now it needs to wake up a bit, I would imagine. There we go. So it took a second to reconnect. Yeah, curious. So we'll do that again. We'll turn this off. We'll queue a request there to turn that light bulb off, turn it back on. I'm not sure that, oh, it did queue the request, waited for that Z-Wave device to become live again. So very curious. So if you really do need to hard power off this power strip, this is it appears to be at least a mechanical power off. Very interesting. So I'm not sure if I love that or I don't love that, to be honest with you. But let's take a look at the automations and just see if we were to create a good old-fashioned block scene, what endpoints we might have available. So let's say, let's choose from Z20 testing. We've got these devices. So for switch, we've got the normal actions. And of course, for meters, you're not going to do much other than reset it. But the meter should be something that we can monitor for. For a value or a power management notification, which would make sense. But remember, this also has two USB ports. So if we go down to the USB port, is it in use or not in use? So it's a Boolean value. Is this thing pulling power or not pulling power? So you can create an automation based on if your device is actually charging or not, which is kind of handy. Okay, so to test the USB device, I configured a scene that if we plug in something to charge here, and it's actually charging on port 1 USB, it's going to turn that second light on right there, just as a test. So before we go in there, I'm going to go into history here, so we can see this this work. So we'll plug this in, and I have my iPhone here. So my iPhone lit up, and sure enough, here we go. USB in use is true, and our light turned on. So it does indeed feed that data back. I will say I had a lot of trouble with this at first, and for some reason it was not reporting the USB power state until I went into the parameter, and even though the parameter was already on to report power state for USB, I had to turn the parameter off, save it, and turn the parameter back on for here, number 34. So I had to turn it off, save it, turn it back on, save it again, and then it started reporting USB for some reason, not really sure. Another thing I said earlier was that there was no master on-off here in the strip that was expressed. Really, you would want a 41.0 entity. It's not in the list under devices or in the room, but if we were to go into the family here, under the details, look, there actually is a 41.0 entity. And if you click on it, you can go into it, and lo and behold, it does actually shut off everything on the strip. So it's there. Why it's not expressed in the UI by default, I'm not too sure. And in case you're curious, if you do toggle that off, my iPhone is actually still charging. There, you can see it in the corner. So it doesn't actually turn off, which I'm not sure I expected it to, the USB ports, but it does turn off and on the, the 5 main outlets of the strip. So what about Home Assistant? So we did add the Zen20 here to Z-Wave JS UI, and it added without any issue. We do have not only the 5 outlets showing up, but also the master power here, which on the Z-Box was kind of hidden for some reason. What also I noticed was a little bit of a bug is when you master power on, like I just did, you'll notice here that device number 5 did not turn on in the interface, but it's actually on. See, I don't know if you can see that light there, but we actually have power on the 5th one. So it's almost like there's a little bit of an update issue going on here with that fifth outlet, but it really does turn on with the master, and it is individually controllable, almost like a display or update problem. But what is most notable in Home Assistant is these two extra items, which I can only assume are the USB ports. These buttons indeed do nothing, but most disturbing, or is it annoying? I'm not sure, is that I could not, for the life of me, and maybe it'll work now because it's been some time, but I do have my phone here charging, or I can have it charging on that port. So I just plugged my phone into this port 2, and which would be device 7, I would believe. But I do not get an update here for the USB ports going in or out of use. Here, I'll go ahead and unplug it. And I got an endpoint 2 value of power consumed, which is something else, right? So I'll plug that into port 1. Yeah, I'm getting values for other ports, but I'm not getting a value for the USB. Kind of hard to see now. When I did it before, I had much less chatter in the event log, but I tried the trick I did on the Z-Wave, or excuse me, on the Z-Box of disabling power reporting and then re-enabling it for the USB ports. But for the life of me, I cannot get this charge, not charge action on the USB ports to show up in Home Assistant. On the automation side, if we were to build an automation, using this device or entity, I don't see actually any way to pull up a value of USB in use or not in use, like we saw in the Z-Box. But I do have switch values for 6 and 7. But they don't indeed change with something being drawing power or not drawing power. They're just like dummy switches. So not sure what to make of that, but other than that issue with the USB, everything is here, of course, in JSUI and including the configuration parameters and whatnot. So it is a minor limitation, I believe. So let's move on to the IQ4 panel, see what's happening over there. All right, so we've already started the process of joining it to the IQ4. I've sped this up and I'll skip forward here and we'll see what it looks like once the join is complete. So we do have actually 7 endpoints here. So the USB devices did show up as endpoints. Very curious. So I'm going to go ahead and label these by their endpoint names so we can make some sense out of this.
Zen20 is added to network successfully.
Okay, so it's there. That's exciting. Let's see what this looks like in the list of lights. There it is. Interesting that it thinks ports 4 and 6 are on. We do have power monitoring on the 5 and not on the last 2, so that's super interesting. What I'm concerned about is the light's not on for port 1, but it thinks it is. So let's turn that off and on again. Oh, it does cycle now. Okay, so if we toggle light 1, light 2, light 3, and I don't have anything plugged in, but we'll have to trust me here, 4 and 5, so we're good. Now, I do have my phone still plugged in here, charging, which I guess would be port 6. Curious if that's lit up. I don't know if that's meaningful or not. I'm going to unplug it. Oh my gosh, look at that. The light status goes on and off. So my microphone goes in and out as I unplug and replug the USB, so I have to do a voiceover here. But suffice it to say, I was very excited at this point because what it proved was that as you plug and unplug the two USB devices, the status in the IQ4 changed and was visible. Unfortunately, it's not visible anywhere else, but you could at least see it on the IQ4 panel with some degree of reliability. So at this point, let's just take a quick look in the panel for things like parameters, and indeed those are accessible for this device, and also direct associations. And it does look like all of the endpoints are properly represented here for associations. Oh, look at that. They're all here. So we shouldn't have any issues associating back and forth, although I will say this is a multi-channel Z-Wave device, which the IQ4 Alarm.com ecosystem, that's still in beta, and there's always some little gotchas there. So I would not be surprised if there's going to be some association gotchas or even automation ones. Typically with multi-channel devices in Alarm.com, if you have an automation triggered by a security sensor, they tend to run through the cloud rather than running locally on the panel. They get a little slow, a little buggy. That's all stuff that I think is going to be worked out with the Alarm.com ecosystem eventually. But for now, just be wary, despite what I'm showing you here and what joy you might have as you get into the weeds with associations with any kind of a multi-channel Z-Wave device on the IQ4 panel, things sometimes are a little iffy. Well, there's a bug in other multi-channel where if I turn on a higher channel, it'll erroneously turn on channel 1 even though it's not actually on. So channel 3 I'm going to turn on, which should be this bulb, and let's do it. And it turned on independent, and it did not show a bogus entry for channel 1. That's actually a progress. That's an old bug of a multi-channel that doesn't appear to work here. So far so good. Let's see what this looks like in Alarm.com. Let's see what we've got. So here are all of our switches. We see that light number 3 is on as we thought. Can we control it? I'm sure we can. We can. That's great. And I am charging on port 7 with USB. So let's just pull the USB and see if that updates. It does. We'll plug it into port 6 and see if we get an update at some point. No, there it is. So here's the real question. It should not be controllable. So it acted like it turned it off, but I can tell you from looking at my phone that we are still charging. Let's take a peek at automation. I would not expect this to be a remote, and it's not because I don't see any remotes here in the system at the moment. Since it is a device, we can, wrong option there. We should be able to, let's see, back door open. We're going to select a device, light switch. So when the back door opens, let's turn on light 1 until the door is closed. Okay, so let's test that back door open. It's off camera here, my simulated back door, but let me open that up. And you heard the panel say the back door is open, the light's not on yet. This is kind of the typical delay that happens with multi-channel devices in an automation because it runs through the cloud instead of local. We'll see if this ever turns on. It could literally be a minute or more. I view it as not usable. Oh, there it is. So what was that, like 30 seconds probably in real life? For a reaction, very unacceptable, but it is in beta, to Alarm.com's credit. But the other thing I did was I built an association which, two directions actually, because they're also a source of trouble with multi-channel devices on alarm.com. So I have port 5 here set up to be associated with a light bulb over here to the right. And I don't believe that this will work, but I'm going to hit channel 5 on, and the association called but did not actually turn the light on, which by the way is hitting a Zen20 switch right here with a light bulb attached. But I did connect it the other direction from the Zen20 to a channel over there. So if I turn this Zen20 on, my light bulb goes on and my second light here goes on and off. So that, watch the second light. As I turn the Zen20 off and on, you know, it's actually associated. So as per normal course, inbound associations work, outbound associations do not. I'm waiting for the day for this to be fully functional in this ecosystem, but it is what it is. All in all, I think I would deem this as fully usable in the alarm.com IQ ecosystem. Thank you for bearing with me today. This is a long video, but we went into quite a bit of depth reviewing the Zen20 power strip. I have to say that the power strip itself, if I were to hand out grades today, would be an A+. I really like the device. I'm really into power monitoring at the moment, so that scored huge brownie points with me. As far as the integration of the 3 platforms, you know, we had a few bumps in the road there, and you can see on the screen my thoughts on each, but specific to alarm.com and their multi-channel beta, a lot of these issues were to be expected, and actually it performed way better than I thought it was going to. So this will only get better with time. In the meantime, no reason to hold off on purchasing one of these if you have the need and the use case. I thank you very much for joining me. If you like this video and like the content on our channel, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will catch you on the next one.